All right, good morning. It's November the 13th of 2025, the time's 9 a.m., and we're going to open this work study session to discuss the regulation and map changes related to the EDZ.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you all for meeting with us again. I believe this is our third work session on this topic, and so we have tried to design a work session to accommodate some of the comments and questions that you all had about potential changes to the EDZ. So this one will be a little bit different. I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. We have some physical boards here for you to walk around and take a look at this morning. But before we do that, I'll just kind of let you know what's in the room for you to see. So over here, under the screen, we have on the left the current zoning map. That's right, the 2025 approved by the board zoning map. And then you have on top of that the land use table from the regulations, as well as a printout of just all of the uses that are allowed in the EDZ so that you can see all of those as they're currently allowed. And then the next map to the right is the map that you all saw at the last work session, which had an east and a west. And then the chart that we looked at as a part of that meeting is on top of that map. Over here on the other side of the room, we have, starting at the back, a blow up or a zoomed in map of the west area, what's currently included in the EDZ, but what would be broken into potentially a western area. And then there is on there a list of potential uses that we heard from the work sessions and individual conversations from you all. I will say that on each of these charts, again, that list has been narrowed down to what we heard. There are items in red that are the items that are probably up for most discussion, that were maybe we heard from one of you all, or it was a little bit unclear. So I think those items in red are likely where you would focus some of the discussion on the land uses. The middle map is a zoomed in area of the eastern side of the county, the EDZ area along I-70 and Highway 24. And then this map closest to me is a completely new version, which is east and west and a central EDZ area. And so on this map, you'll see the same land uses for east and west and potential additional uses specific to that central corridor. I will say the map is not 100% reflective of kind of what it was intended to be. So when you get up there and look at it, I think it'll make a little bit more sense, but there's potentially additional EDZ areas along County Road, I believe 29, and the Kiowa-Bennett Road would also be included in that central area. So we do have markers up here for you all, so if you wanted to change the area, enlarge it, shrink it, or something like that, you all could certainly make those indications. This map, both of these maps actually have the 2.5 mile radius around Agate, around our interchange off of I-70, and around Simla, for you all to consider those as well. Again, those can be enlarged, they could be shrunk down. All of it is designed, right, mostly to be a starting point for your conversation and your consideration.
Great job. Great job. Yeah, I do have one question. I noticed on this second map, you got some stuff on there. It's highlighted in yellow on the attached paper. What is that?
Yes, sir. So that is what you all looked at the last work session. So it's the full list from the land use table. The yellow items were what are currently allowed. That seemed a little bit confusing, so this time we pulled out only what we've heard that you would potentially want to allow in those different areas.
Makes sense. Thank you. Great job.
So, but I wanted you to be able to see what you saw last time as well for comparison and for conversation purposes. Are there other questions that I could answer before you all start
Commissioner Schroeder?
looking around?
I think it'd be beneficial for, if there's any public watching, to understand even if there's been a modification to a specific use, within the EDZ, there's still an opportunity for that type of business to come in. They just have to go through a different route other than the EDZ.
Yes, sir, 100%. So the EDZ, as it currently stands, has a shortened process for approval, and so you don't have to change the zoning, but you're 100% right. If there is a use that is in our land use table, it will have a corresponding zoning district, and so anyone could apply for that corresponding zoning district for that use to be allowed. So I think that we had talked about trying to make some changes to utilize the EDZ for incentives of those types of uses that the county really wants to see, because it is a quicker process. It does not go through the planning commission, right? It's approved by the board. There's not a community meeting. It's just a little bit quicker process. It's an EDZ site plan, essentially. And so we've really narrowed those down based on what we heard from you all, that it sounds like you all think are appropriate and really want to encourage in those respective areas.
Commissioner Buck.
I would just like to clarify, what we're doing today is we are adding a layer of transparency to the process for many of the applications. Where previously they could come through, no community meeting, I think you just mentioned it, no planning commission hearing, it would go straight to the Board of County Commissioners. So we are actually adding that layer of transparency to a majority of these applications so that the community meeting can be held, the citizens can be involved, and they can be heard. So I just wanted to clarify that. My only other question is, are we going to take a recess while we look at all of these, or are we going to keep the public meeting open? Or did we want to take a recess while we looked at this and then
We can recess
We
for
adjourn.
15 minutes.
that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can do that.
And Kelsey and I are here to take notes based on when you all come back to the dais and start discussing. I can also pull those boards up here if you all want to look at them while you're speaking. So I just wanted to be sure and have room for this initial portion of the meeting.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Buck?
No, sir.
Commissioner Schroeder? All right, we will be in recess. It's 9:07. We'll take 15 minutes. Thanks. So we've taken a look at everything. Wow, one minute I'm low, the next minute I'm blowing the speaker out. All right, so we've taken a look at the maps, and I think there's a little bit of discussion that we want to have with that. And who wants to kick off? You want to kick it off? All right, go ahead.
So a couple of things new today. The central EDZ zone, we need to discuss that. I think Commissioner Schroeder is correct that at some point with the current development, that those will be well-traveled corridors. But before we make any decisions, I would definitely wait until we determine the land use map and kind of place where we want some of this development and where we, with the citizens' input, obviously, in the steering committee and the planning commission, we determine if that is where that's going to go, if we want to move forward with that or not. So that would be my thoughts on that. But I definitely think, based on the build-out projections of some of those developments, that those probably will be well-traveled corridors. The other thing that I had was the radius. So 2.5 miles, not sure if that's the right number. I think there's pros and cons for both. My concern would be residential a little bit outside of the town limits, where you have someone in a nice residential area and all of a sudden they are, have some industrial use or manufacturing or something like that next door. And they're not involved in the community meeting, they're not involved in some of that process. Now, would we still be able to put them in that location? Possibly, but they would just have to go through the normal application process versus the EDZ zone. So I'm not sure if 2.5 miles is the right number. So that would be my concern there. Otherwise, I'm really excited about making some of these changes. That's all I had.
Okay, Commissioner Schroeder.
May I suggest that we go through each area and discuss each area instead of in a
Sure.
haphazard way, here and there, and bouncing around. And maybe the EDZ East is be the easiest way to start.
Well, I don't know that it's, do we need that?
Switch to this camera. Yeah, Mars is switching cameras there, Jennifer, so we should be able to pick it up.
And I will just note that for discussion purposes, we have put in front of you all the corresponding land use tables for each of the different areas, as well as the long with the black title. That one is the list of the current EDZ allowances, just so that you have that for reference during discussion.
Okay, thank you. To address Commissioner Buck's point on the radius from these different locations, what's shown on this map is a 2.5. The one over here, I think we have a little circle around Matheson. What is the radius on
I
that?
believe
What?
those are 1 mile. also one around the town of
The
Elbert.
town of Elbert, okay. I understand the concern there, but I also know for wanting to have a wide variety of opportunity for additional landowners to utilize their property, I think for the most part, we've cut down a lot of objectionable uses. And I think other places that I travel to, and it's not unusual for different areas to be developed a little bit out of town, and then it gets filled in between. I think of Lyman and their jail. It's south of town, which I'm not advocating for us doing that. Just as an example, it's probably 3 or 3.5 miles out of town. You got to go past the golf course and on out, but it draws opportunity then for other businesses along that corridor. I was this weekend was recently up in the northeast part of the state, and Fort Morgan in particular is doing some development that's a little bit outside of town. It's probably still in their town limits, but there still is quite a bit of open space between where the actual development is taking place and where the other developed areas are. So I don't know that's unusual to kind of there to be hop, skips, and jumps arounds on that. I guess it's worthy of more conversation on that. But my objective would be to give as many landowners the opportunity to utilize their property as they see fit as we can, and what makes sense. So that to me needs to be further looked at. The potential land uses that are in the EDZ, there's a long list there. As Jennifer said, the ones in red are probably the ones that deserving of more conversation. So particularly the RV and boat storage listed here in the EDZ zone. To me, the vehicle, the RVs and boat storage are entry, they're beginning, they're easy for a landowner to get started and helps to be a draw for other businesses, particularly when we're looking out east on these. We're along major corridors along I-70, but also along 24. And in particular, I could see something like that in Simla being an incentive for more traffic to be on 24. For the folks in the town of Falcon could utilize a boat storage there. And we've heard that there's a desire to have a gas station in Simla. And anything we could do that would help draw more traffic, which certainly an RV and boat storage would do, helps make that more of a viable business within the town of Simla. And so I would very much advocate to keeping the RV, boat, and storage in that east area. We would be drawing not just Elbert County folks, but it'd be the El Paso folks coming in. We know then that they're going to fill up if we have that gas station there, either on the way out or the way in from their trips. We're going to have people stopping at the dollar store down there to stock up on their food supplies as they go out up to camp. So I think to me, that makes a sense if we're wanting to encourage more traffic, more business, more activity, economic activity in the town of Simla, that one be included, because it's an easy start for somebody, but it can have a good benefit. I also asked Jennifer to include the schools, colleges, and universities on this list, which is another one out east. I in particular would love to be able to find a place that would put a VOTEC school in. And if we could find an organization or a group or a school, an offshoot, that wanted to have a satellite campus or even move their campus would be even better into Elbert County, I would certainly not want any red tape to be inhibiting that potential economic activity. And so that was why I asked for the schools, colleges, and universities to be included here. As far as the removal, the bar, or lounge, or liquor store, I do think that those have significant impacts to the community. And to Commissioner's Buck point, I do think that this should be one that is completely transparent, that this is what is transpiring in this location. And so I did ask for Jennifer to show those as being removed from there. Again, not meaning they can't come in, but particularly for a town, that could have a significant impact, negative and positive, I suppose. But that was my thought process behind those. But the ones in black, I think, are great. I'd be wholeheartedly in favor of those, and certainly entertain discussion on the other four issues.
Anything else, sir?
Not on the EDZ East.
So I'll just make a few comments here that I agree with a lot of what most of you have said. We need to attract industrial and commercial in those areas out there that are not heavily populated with residential. Our cattle industry is suffering out there. There's, we've talked about feed lockers and things of that nature. But anyway, to the point, if we could attract some commercial businesses out there by doing this, that maybe it would help bring in revenues to this county and help us maintain our current tax rates and keep the taxes as low as possible for our residents or citizens here in the county. I know that the good people down in Simla encourage growth. They're trying to revitalize that area down there. I think that's the way you've got it planned out there is really good. I like that. We also need to talk about agate area up there. They need some help in that area, so I think we need to encourage and incentivize to get some businesses in there to provide jobs for our teenagers and our residents that live out in those areas. To Commissioner Schroeder's comments about VOTEC, that would be an absolutely have a satellite school facility somewhere in that area out there, especially I think of Agate and I think of Simla. They got great schools out there, a lot of kids out there. That would be wonderful. So I agree with what you said, Commissioner Schroeder. I also would agree with both of you regarding the liquor in the bars. There's more negatives impacts than there are positive impacts. So I would agree we don't need that in the CDZ zone. So Commissioner Buck, any follow up on your opportunity?
Real quick to follow up. We had talked a little bit about possibly adding an EDZ where the highways join, so we could maybe look at that as well and add that on there.
So are we just for the point of reference for those that are not here, we're talking about the county line where 24 and I-70 intersect.
Exactly.
The county line west.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Well, I would.
That looks nice.
The maps were too nice.
No.
So what if you use the same, because we've got one road that's running, I'll just say north toward the northwest, and the other one's running southwest. So that circle needs to probably be the same. It'll be a half circle, obviously.
Yeah.
But probably be the same in order to get that, because you don't have a lot of residents in that area out there. And you have the train track coming through there, which I think would be, it's got potential.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, we talked about how big that radius should be. Maybe 1 mile is too small, 2.5 miles is too big. It may be 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles, something like that. I just think you get out too far into the ag land. It's not appropriate. Yeah.
So again, this is kind of a starting
I mean, Commissioner Buck, you got some great points about that, and I don't totally disagree with you, but if we need a feed locker out there somewhere that's cattlemen in this county, and I just don't want to make it any more difficult, or people think because, the word on the road, you try to do something here, it takes you 2 years to get it done. Well, that's not completely accurate, but I think that would be a big revenue, and it'd be a big help for cattlemen.
Either way, they have to go through a hearing process.
Well, exactly.
Whether they go through the formal hearing process of a straight rezone with all the steps, or they still have to come to the BOC. So either way, they still have to come through the hearing process. Just what do we want to encourage, what do we don't want to?
Does it have to be a circle, I guess? Could we be maybe we could all agree. Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, maybe it would meet you in the middle here. We could, along that I-70 corridor where there's a railroad that runs through there, and along Highway 24. Okay.
If you do the half circle at the county line, where they're pretty close,
Yeah.
and then you did extended whatever would be the connecting piece from that to the one that's up there, and make it just the width, extend that width to the 1.5 miles, 2 miles, whatever it is we go, something like that. Hey, you read my mind.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
We could also shift this circle a little bit. If there was concern, Commissioner Buck, about this going out too far, we could shift it this way to include more of Highway 86. Or again, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It could be longer along I-70.
What if you just did away with that blue circle and extended that up like you're going, just to run parallel with I-70 and the railroad tracks, like,
Yeah.
I mean, in that way
Instead
you're
of
not,
having a circle,
instead of
you
having,
just have it wider along there.
yeah,
Have the large circle here, I think is what I heard. But we could change
half
that
circle,
too.
yeah.
We wanted that to be more narrow and go all the way up to connect to the agate area.
Yeah, and I just, me personally, I'd like to leave that agate area. I don't know how much you'd want to reduce that. I just,
Leave this one.
my thoughts, and then just do away with that blue circle where your hand's at.
Like this.
You can carry that up. I mean, guys, of course, there's no exits there, but,
Doesn't mean there won't ever be one.
right? Commissioner Buck, what's your thought?
Well, my only thought is, how wide is the yellow line now, the current EDZ through there?
Quite a mile.
Gotcha. So that was how it was currently. So even if we doubled it, it'd be 2 miles.
So you want to split the difference, say 1.5 miles?
Well,
1 3/4.
Yeah,
well, the way she's got it written out there, just kind of, obviously it's a rough marker, but it's 4 miles or something. If that's a mile, the current yellow line now, current EDZ zone, if that's roughly a mile, then she's got maybe 4 miles across there. It's pretty wide.
well, we could narrow
But we
it
could
down.
narrow it to 2 miles and double the size of it to 2 miles instead of 4 miles, you know?
This may be a 2 mile radius instead of a 2.5.
So it'd be roughly a mile on each side of I-70, right? If it was 2 miles, and if it was centered along I-70, if you made the path Instead of 1 mile, it'd be 2 miles. It's a mile on each side.
Is there interest in connecting these two? Did I hear that?
I'm open to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already in existence. It's just adding.
So it'd be a little, closer in, yeah. But my suggestion would be 2 miles instead of 1 mile, which is what we have now.
Right. So, and this may need to adjust a little bit, I was just
Yeah.
connecting my lines, but that would definitely be less than
Than that, yeah.
full 4 or so, so that could be,
And you're still doubling this along I-70 what we currently have.
if there's a preferred width there, we could certainly have it mapped that way.
Could you, when you have it mapped, can you draw like a 1 mile radius, a line at 1.5, 2, 2.5, that kind of thing, so we can get a point of reference?
Options that are 1 mile, 1.5, 2, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, I think you should stop there.
Why would we not continue that all the way through the northern part there?
I have no objection to that. Continue it up,
Yeah.
All the way to the end?
yeah.
She knows her limitations.
Are you all okay with this portion along Highway 24? Keeping that sort of as is? Or do you want that to be whatever width is decided here, a little bit wider all the way down, and then keep the circle around Semla?
I'd say widen it a little bit because 24 is the main corridor coming out of El Paso County, as we all know, going to I-70. Maybe not that much, but you know what I'm saying, like maybe,
A little bit on each side?
yeah.
Is everybody okay if I draw that?
Yeah, draw it on there.
It's not forever. I wanted you guys to do this.
Could you do the same with that as you're gonna do with the other, with the 1 mile, 1.5?
Roughly. And then we can do these same options.
Okay.
Jennifer, how does this work now with if a parcel is bigger than where the current EDZ is? But they start in the EDZ, but their property extends beyond that. Does it include the whole parcel then, that they can use that with?
So I've asked that question myself. The regulations don't specify. My understanding is the informal policy has been to allow those uses on the entire parcel because it's not, it does split lots of
Yeah,
parcels.
so would that be helpful if we clarified that?
Very much so.
So I could see how that could be a real issue. If you have a parcel that's getting cut and the front part of their building is going to be in the EDZ, but the back part of their building is going to not be, how do we deal with that? And to have it finalized and put down in the regs exactly how we want that dealt with, I think is helpful to staff and probably to the applicants as well, so they know.
Well, I could see a big parcel, front, highway frontage, and they're gonna do something, and then way back, half a mile back, well, what do you do? How does that work?
So up to you all. The way the regs read right now is you have your underlying zoning. You're in the EDZ, you have the EDZ on top. You can choose to use the underlying zoning, you can choose to use the EDZ, you can choose to use both. It's actually very lenient, but it does not specify if you have 10 acres and the EDZ roughly, is only the first,
Well, that's why there's a line on a map. So either it's in the EDZ zone or it's not. You could say the line's the line, and whatever project you put there, it would be, better fit inside that line, or you're outside of the EDZ zone, and you'd have to.
that would be one option.
I mean, otherwise, don't have why have a line? Why are we doing a line if we're saying, hey, well, if I don't know. That'd be my thought.
I'd like to see the map with the lines on it, and then,
These different options.
yeah, and then that's just my
Can
thought.
Including up here.
Yeah.
And parcels? So
You need me to help you with that? Oh, look at you go.
Still remember.
I'm sorry, there was a comment about parcels?
Yeah, that map, would it be able to show the parcels? Could you make it where the overlay also showed parcels?
I believe the parcel lines are on here. Yeah.
No,
There's just not a lot
I
out
just
here,
can't
so.
see them.
So, yeah, you can, but there's definitely examples. You can even see, for example, as it currently is, there's a parcel that are all cut by the.
Partial through it.
What have you been doing in the past when that's come up? How have you been handling it?
My understanding is that the informal policy was to allow it for the entire parcel, if that's what the applicant.
Interesting. So no line.
Well, it's just, if it's
So
part
the-
of your parcel.
If it's part of,
do the use.
if it's part of the parcel and it's included in the whole parcel counts. So we're not
So if it's touching it,
We're not
the whole
splitting,
parcel is in the,
splitting zoning on a parcel.
Typically try to avoid that, but, to avoid, yeah.
Wasn't there some case law
interesting.
on that one time? I remember I read something. I'll have to see if I can find it about,
Well, split zoning is typically discouraged.
right.
I don't believe our regulations actually say that, most regulations do. But that's the benefit of the overlay, is it's not technically two zoning districts. It's just, how does the overlay play into it? But I think specificity would be extremely beneficial, whichever way you all decide.
Because
That
you,
way it's just consistently applied.
because you could have this portion of my lot, this portion of it is in the EDZ zone. Eligible for this, this, and this. Whereas this portion has to go through the regular process if I'm gonna be building on that or changing use on that.
The challenge is in the long-term utilization of the lot, right? Because the lines don't show up out there, as we know, and so they tend to creep, right? Again, I'm speaking very generically, but it can be a challenge to keep a use on a portion of a lot over a long period of time.
Yeah. So that's something we'll have to give some thought to and think about.
So I think I understand the options for the map. For the uses, I didn't hear a lot of disagreement.
That's because you did a good job.
Can we make sure that's part of the record that there was no,
So it sounded like everyone was okay with taking out the bar and lounge and liquor store and leaving in the university, colleges, and the storage in the east.
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that fair? And so you all would like to see these options on a map. Would you like to see that at a future work session, or what would probably?
I just think for clarity, I would, speaking for
To see the
myself.
options, and so that you all can kind of decide. And
So,
this
so,
makes sense, this is a
so what makes sense to me as far as next step and that sort of thing, we keep refining this, getting it closer to where we all feel comfortable, but then we add the input next week that we get, to see if there's any changes before we implement it, and then say, oh, we make the changes, and then say, oh, now we've gotten some new input from the steering committee and from the planning commission, from our consultant, and we say, oh, what about this? We can add it at the same time, that we make the official changes to our rules and regs.
What would potentially be ideal is, Lance, your county attorney, also has a few regulation changes that are scheduled to go before you on December 17th. So if we have another work session in the next, say, 2 weeks, for you all to see this map and potentially other map changes, we could be shooting for that December 17th, and then you all could do sort of all of these changes as a package, and it's nice and tidy at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
And so then we could go into year with these revised regulations, the revised maps.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Doesn't have to be done that way, but that's an option.
No, it's a good option.
So we'll work on having these different mapping options brought back before you. And it sounds like this, at least on this one, is fairly, I heard a thumbs up from the group.
Yeah.
So the future next work study session then would be sometime the week of Thanksgiving, if I'm looking at my calendar correctly.
I know you all,
Yeah, we're getting, first part of December is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
a lot of you all have trips and vacations.
Yeah, we'll have to get with Macy and see if she can work her magic and get us all.
And we might can do it sooner rather than later. I will just have to see how quickly we can make the map changes. But we can certainly start working on that as soon as possible.
Okay.
Which one would you all like to bring up next?
Well, yeah, let's do that. That's the most critical, I think. All right, Commissioner Balk.
Well, I did notice we don't have any schools, colleges, or universities on the west side. I don't know why. Yeah, if someone wants to come in, they own a piece of land, they want to put in a trade school, I'm saying let them put in a trade school on the west side as well as the east side.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
Yep.
For sure. Anything else?
Not at this time. I'm looking at it right now. Let me give it some thought.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Again, on, I don't know, was I the obstinate one with the red ones?
No, it was collective.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I just wanted to know if I
Anything
was.
that I heard that was a question or that I only heard from one of you all?
Okay, so these were ones that I was thinking that makes sense to be also in the east. A greenhouse, along the lines of the desire for more rural-oriented businesses. So a greenhouse, ag equipment sales, rental, repair, I think fall in line with that. So I would think that those two would fit well in the west. The event conference center, convention center, is something that the county desperately needs. We have Messer Arena, and we have the ag building at the fairgrounds. And for events to come in, we just don't have a lot of that happening. But if we had one of these facilities that was, again, available not only for organizations within the county, but also for outside organizations, you're bringing folks into the county. It's a 1 day, 2 day, 3 day event, whatever, and then they're gone. So the immediate impact around the surrounding landowners would have less of an impact than some of these other things that are on the list that would have daily traffic. These would be weekend traffic or whatever. So I think it's a need within the county and it would have less impact than some of these other things that are in black. As far as the hotel, motel, resort lodge, all those, again, bringing folks into the county is a good thing. And anything we can do to cut red tape to increase that revenue coming into the county, I think is a good thing. Again, these are, you're not going to see this. These are, I can't imagine a hotel or motel coming anywhere except right on 86 or 24 or something like that. But where there's a main thoroughfare. But if we could cut red tape to attract a facility and make it more palatable for them, I'm for that. And again, looking at a resort lodge, guest ranch, or resort cabin, that probably fits into more of our idea of staying in a rural type atmosphere than a something else. So that was my thought process on those pieces.
Commissioner Buck?
Got nothing else.
Okay. I'm good with that.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, is everyone, you all are basically okay with the list?
The list other than the ad that we talked about with the schools and universities.
Yes,
Yeah,
adding
Other,
that
other than that, I'm
No, I
okay
think
with the
that's a
list.
great,
and taking out the bar and lounge and all
that's a
that.
great
Okay.
addition.
Right.
Perfect. So for this next one,
You need some help?
as you discussed this idea of a central, and these are at different scales, but, can you all see this one okay?
Yes.
So this map was done first, and so there are things shown on this one in the west as they sort of currently exist. There is an option to pull this area out and make this sort of a central zone, central EDZ, if the board desires to do that.
So if I can comment, my thought on that is at some point with the build out of these subdivisions, it's all going to end up being the same. Maybe not immediately, but as things get built out, I'm not sure we need to differentiate, is what I'm saying. And have a central and create a third zone. I'm just kind of spitballing here. But as that gets developed, what's going to be the difference between Kiowa Bennett and 13 or 166 and 20? They're going to be the same. Are they not going to, what's going to differentiate between the western zone and the central zone? Not a lot. I just think what I'm looking at on that map, the rezones and some of those things that have already been approved, there's not going to be much difference. I'm just not sure it's worthwhile to create another zoning district. Now, we could say, do we want to, the conversation could be, do we want to create another addition to the western zone, which would be 29, and some of the ones that are highlighted a little bit differently there. What is that, 174, I believe it is? 174 and 29, do we want to add those to our current EDZ zone? Now, that would be the conversation, in my opinion, versus do we want to create a third zone? Because at some point, they're all going to blend together and it's all going to be the same. You're going to have traffic lights, you're going to have cars going through, and it's going to kind of all blend together.
Yeah. So I will, to your point, Commissioner Buck, with what we discussed just recently with the EDZ Wet, the west part, and adding in the greenhouse, the agriculture equipment, hotel, motel, and the schools, there's very little difference now between what would be the proposed central versus the west. And so when you put these two together, the ones that stick out as being a difference, at least in red, is automobile sales, RV, boat, motorcycle, ag sales, equipment sales, service, automobile supply and service stations, fueling stations. So as I'm thinking along those lines of more highly trafficked areas, that we want to attract those areas there. But for most part, the pieces in red would then follow through with what is in the west. So there's not a whole lot of difference there. We have a food locker opportunity in the central that's not in the west. Office with outside storage is in both of them. So the lists are very similar. There's very little difference there. So I'm not disagreeing with what Commissioner Buck says, but I do think adding those other corridors makes sense.
So as far as outdoor storage, there was a difference. One of them had office with outside storage in the central. The west did not allow office with outdoor storage. It was office without outdoor storage is where the similarity comes in. So a little bit different there. But you're right, most of them are the same. And
So what would be an example of an office with outside storage?
to me, it's just office space. That's what I'm looking at. What is office?
Well, without outdoor storage, office includes everything, including medical and dental and, right, your accountant office and
it's
things
office
like that.
space.
With outdoor storage, it could evolve into something like U-Haul rental, right, where they have they have an office where you go in and do all the paperwork, and then they have their, right, trailers or trucks that they would store outside and that you would rent. Could also be something like countertops, right, where they have those big slabs of all the pretty expensive countertops, right, outside, but they have an office where you come in, right, and you talk with them and do all of
Landscaping.
of the things, right. So the outside storage piece, I think, is it is different, and so I think that we need that distinction. Office may even be the wrong word. It's what we currently have, so that's what we're working with.
So to your point, this would be like, just pull Parker, you've got a U-Haul rental place, and then you've got the storage facility on site. Right?
Or Parker Trailers.
Yeah.
They have an office, you can go buy a trailer, but they have to have outside storage because their equipment is big enough that they need some outside space.
So this is not a one and done deal. I mean, this will need to be revisited as things progress in this county over time, wouldn't you think? So, I mean, I'm leaning toward the 3 myself, and then we can come back at any point and revisit it. But there are a few little nuances here that are not in the other one that need to be addressed. I don't know if we just need to be all inclusive. I think there has to be some differences.
Because if they were the same, you wouldn't need a separate zoning.
Right. Unless you just want
If
to make
there's
it
only
all.
one or two differences, you either include them or not, and still only have 2. The question is if we want to add, because we can figure that out. I think with enough time, we can sit there and say, okay, let's add this 2, let's eliminate these 2, and we figure it out, and you create one zone. Now, the question is, do we want to add that zone or not?
If we just
That's the real question.
I'd be in favor of just taking a list out of Central and putting it in the West and going with it.
Oh, just adding it, moving it over? I'd be in favor of the other way, taking the west and moving it over.
I figured.
So it sounds like one of the big questions is whether you're adding additional corridors,
Correct, and
regardless of what you're calling it.
yeah, that's the big question, I think, because we can agree, I think we could come to an agreement on what should or shouldn't be included for both of these zones, or one of the zones. But the question to me is, do we want to add more EDZ zoning to the county? The original question from the Planning Commission was, should we eliminate the EDZ zoning? And here we are going, well, let's not eliminate it, let's add to it a significant corridor. I think we need to give it some thought for sure and really look at that, because this is the first time I've seen it on a map, and how that would work. You know, we've eliminated a lot of the uses, but we really hadn't talked about adding to the EDZ zone when the original discussion was eliminating the EDZ zone, and that's what brought this whole series of work study sessions to the forefront. So I think that should be something that we take a hard look at. We get input from the steering committee, the mapping, planning map, and then move forward. That'd be my suggestion.
Any follow-up, Commissioner Schroeder?
Well, the whole purpose of the EDZ is to encourage economic development. And so as we add roads, add highly traveled corridors, to me it makes sense that we add the EDZ over there, if that's what our goal is to promote these type of businesses, then we need to do what we can to promote those. So that would be my position.
I agree. I have just seen that map, and to sit there and say, oh, I think it's a great idea, I'd want to look at that a little closer, study it a little bit, get the input from the steering committee, the planning commission, comprehensive plan, where they want growth, where that suggestions are going to be, and have that all tied together.
Then I suggest that we table this section of it, come back at our next meeting, that we're going to have the discussion, and then I think all three of us will be a little clearer on what we need to do. Because we're talking about getting with Macy, get another schedule set up, and then that'll give Commissioner Buck time to look into it, give three of us actually time to look into it.
And think about the sizing of some of these areas, how wide we want it, or what radius we want around some of these towns, and that sort of thing.
Are y'all good with that suggestion?
Yeah, I'm
You
good
good with that, sir? Okay. Anything else you want to add, or are we going to?
I will just ask you all one question. We do have including this EDZ and that small package of regulations, right? There was this EDZ community meeting and concept brief. That was continued into your next week's meeting. So my question to you all is, do you want the other two, or do you want them all to come together with those additional regulation changes in December? It'll be on the agenda either way. Again, it was continued.
Whatever's easier for you, I think.
But
Yeah, I'm fine either way, it doesn't matter.
Just a point of clarity, though, that's something that I think one of you going to be out during the December meeting?
Well, we can talk the 17th. I would be back for the 17th meeting.
Okay.
And I don't know if they have.
I mean, it's just something all three of us need to be here for.
Yeah, so as I look, if that's, maybe they've made an adjustment because of that,
And then yours,
that trip.
You'll be here? Okay.
I believe the regular meetings are the 10th and the 17th, back-to-back weeks in December because of all the holidays and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
We just need to make sure we get it
Yeah, so
scheduled appropriately.
the 10th would be the one that I will miss.
Okay?
good news, we don't have any land use items for the 10th.
I was just going to suggest we load up for the 10th, then, is what I was going
I
to
was
say.
going to say it's going to be completely different county.
So it sounds like there's not a real rush for the community meeting and the concept brief. You don't necessarily want those to go ahead and move forward, just keep them all grouped together?
Yeah, I would
Is that
just
what I'm
group them
hearing?
together. We can just knock
Grouped
them out.
together, okay. Then we'll put on the agenda for tomorrow too, that will be
It all
further
flows
continued.
Together, I think it's better to
Yeah, I agree.
do it
Okay.
all together.
I just wanted to clarify, so you
Yeah.
didn't see something
Okay,
surprising.
sounds good to me.
Okay,
Anything else?
I will work with Macy to set up a follow-up work session with you all as soon as possible, depending on your schedules. And depending on our mapping timing.
What day is our joint meeting next week, do you know?
Next Thursday.
Thursday.
Commissioner Schroeder, got any other comments, questions?
That's all I got.
Commissioner Buck, anything else, sir?
That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Clear this meeting adjourned. Thank you.